బ్యాక్గ్రౌండ్ సౌండ్ వస్తుంది చూసుకోండి.
నా దగ్గర రావట్లేదు మేడం. ఫ్యాన్ సౌండ్ అది యాక్చువల్గా నా దగ్గర రావట్లేదు మేడం.
A very warm good morning to all the students, teachers and principals who are participating in this webinar. A very warm welcome to all of you once again. Today we are going to have a physics session on ray optics. This is the second session on ray optics by Srimati Joshi Prasanna Garu. She is a PhD in physics from PSMS Velimala, Nasi. The earlier session was on reflection and refraction of light. Madam would be continuing the extension of those topics in today's class. So I expect all students to be very attentive and follow the class properly. In case you have doubts, you can post them in the chat. All such doubts will be taken up at the end of the session. Over to you, Joshi Prasanna.
Thank you, sir. A very good morning to everyone. Welcome to the second session in the series, Ray Optics and Optical Instruments. As you are aware, this is the second chapter in the second year intermediate textbook. Hope most of you have watched the first session where I emphasized on the introductory part, which gives the fundamentals of ray optics and optical instruments. Hope most of you have watched. So children, I feel it's a great start because I got many views out of it and I feel most of you benefited out of it. So let us look at the second session now. Here, to start with, I have a good thought, that is, science and everyday life cannot and should not be separated. Isn't it, children? So everything that we learn in science should be related or connected to our life. Then only it is more meaningful. So let us straightly get into the second session. Before that, let's have a quick recap of what we have learned already in the first session. So it is about reflection and its laws. Some important terminology was discussed. Types of mirrors, its behavior and its applications. Refraction and its laws. Then we have seen what is refractive index and learned about Snell's law. Then refraction through curved surfaces. Applications of lenses in real life. Hope children you all remember those points. So now, to start with, I have the learning objectives of today. The first one we have is rules for drawing ray diagrams. Secondly, lens formula and lens maker's formula. Then I will discuss refraction at different situations. So we'll consider different situations and I'll explain the refraction there. And lastly, I will explain critical angle because I'll start the topic called total internal reflection. Hope children, you all are ready. So focus on the session. The first part we have is rules for ray diagrams. So coming to the first rule, first of all, look at the diagram here. Children, I have already discussed the terminology we use in these ray optics. Once again, I recall those points. Look at the lens I have chosen here. What type of lens have I chosen? Is it convex or concave? Yes, it is convex lens and it is represented with L. Okay, children. So if you see what is represented as C here, this is nothing but the geometrical center of this lens. So what is it called as? Optical center. So C is the optical center. Then F dash and F are the foci of this convex lens. Okay, if you observe, because it is biconvex lens and it has two curved surfaces, it has two foci, and lastly, the ray which is passing through optic center and the focus is nothing but the principal axis. So this is what about the terminology of convex lens. Okay, children. Now let us straightly come to the point, the rule number 1. What is the rule? Look at the ray I have chosen, AD. So do you see it as a parallel to the principal axis? Yes, this is a ray chosen parallel to principal axis. So this is the incident ray. Okay, children. So the incident ray is chosen parallel to principal axis. So when it is getting refracted, look at the behavior of the refracted ray. After touching the convex lens, it is getting refracted through the focus. If you observe, the same line after the refraction is passing through a point on the principal axis. What is that? Focus. So whenever you chose a ray parallel to the principal axis, that will certainly follows a path through the focus after refraction. Okay, children, did you understand? This type of diagram we also have discussed in our previous session, where we have learned about focal length of convex lens or focal length of concave mirror, isn't it, children? So according to the first rule, a ray of light which is parallel to the principal axis always passes through the focus after refraction through the lens. So remember, children, keep focus on the point. Now we'll get into the second point, that is second rule. Okay, children, look at the diagram again. So the same type of lens is taken, which is represented with L, and principal axis is drawn. These are the fundamentals we have to remember before drawing the ray diagram. First of all, we have to draw the lens, then mark its geometric center, foci on both the sides, and draw the principal axis. Now, what is the rule to be followed? The second rule is, look at the ray. The ray, is it passing through the center of, is it passing through the optic center of the lens? Yes. AC is the ray, the incident ray, which is passing through the optic center of the lens. But look at the refracted ray. Is there any refraction taking place? That means, is it bending? No, there is no bend in the refracted ray CY. Can you observe, children, in the diagram? Yes, because whenever you choose a ray of light passing through the optical center, it will be undeviated. It will not change its direction. It will follow the same path even after refraction. That's what this AY ray represents. Can you observe, children? That is what, whenever a ray of light passing through the optical center of convex lens, it does not bend. That means it will not deviate after refraction and goes straight. Here, I will also give you one more point about the ray which is passing through the principal axis. Suppose you have a ray which is passing through principal axis, path of the principal axis. The incident ray, if it is passing through, I mean x dash c, if this is the incident ray, what will be the refracted ray? Certainly, the refracted ray also will not be deviated and follows the same path. So, whenever a light is along the principal axis, the ray will not get deviated after refraction. So in this diagram, you can understand 2 points. One is a ray of light passing through the optical center, that is AC, and the ray of light passing through the principal axis, that is x dash c. Both will go straight without any deviation after the refraction. This is the second law. Now, let us focus on the third law. What is the third law? Children, actually it is similar to it is exactly opposite of the first rule. What is the first rule? We have taken a ray parallel to the principal axis and that is passing through the focus. Now, the reverse of that case is seen here in the third rule. What is that? You have chosen the incident ray through the focus, that is AD. Okay, children. So, same convex lens is used with the same principal axis. So, first here, you have chosen the ray through the focus, one of the foci of the convex lens. What happened to the refracted ray, children? It is becoming parallel to the principal axis. It follows the path which is parallel to the principal axis. Isn't it, children? So, what is third rule says? Whenever a ray of light passes through the focus of the convex lens, then it becomes parallel to the principal axis after refraction through the lens. So these are the three important rules you have to remember to draw the ray diagrams. Here, children, look at these rules at a glance. Look at it carefully because I am giving the gist of these three rules in this slide. Listen carefully. What is the first rule? A ray chosen parallel to the principal axis passes through the focus after refraction. Second rule is a ray chosen along the optical center and along the path of principal axis go undeviated. What do you mean by undeviated? Go straight without any bend. Then the third rule is a ray chosen through the focus will move always parallel to the principal axis after refraction. Okay, children, you can take the screenshot of it for your reference. Now, the most important discussion we have here is lens formula. So before I actually tell you what is lens formula, look at the ray diagram already drawn here. Okay, children, what type of lens I have used here? Convex lens, isn't it? So I have represented this convex lens by name MN. So MN is the convex lens which is bluish in color. Just to distinguish it, I have given that color. Okay, children. Suppose, and we know what are the basic things we have to remember while drawing the ray diagrams. We have to represent the optic center. I represented optic center with O and two foci on both the sides of the convex lens. Okay, then we have also drawn principal axis passing through focus optical center. Have you seen, children? This is the horizontal line representing principal axis. Okay, so now because it is biconvex lens, we can place here, okay, here children, the incident ray AC is taken from the object AB. If you look at the refracted ray after refraction, we know already from the rule, it will pass through the focus. Okay, children. So, AC is passing through, the refracted ray is passing through the focus. Next, I have taken another incident ray from A again. That is, now using the second rule, I have chosen this ray. That is, the ray passing from A to O. Okay, children. So, what is that? We know that whenever you choose a ray through optic center, it will be undeviated. Therefore, it is following the path OA dash. Have you understood, children? So if you observe how many incident rays I have, two incident rays, they are AC and AO. How many refracted rays I have? Two refracted rays corresponding to those two incident rays, that is CA dash and OA dash. If you extend them back, what happens? They will intersect at a point. So that point gives the image of A. So we all know from there, if you draw a straight line towards the principal axis, that gives the image, the nature of the image or the position of the image. Isn't it, children? So if you observe the image, that is A dash and B dash, comparatively, if you look at AB, A dash, B dash seems to be diminished image. Isn't it, children? Is it a diminished image? Yes, it is diminished image. Then if you observe, what is the height of the that means the size of AB? It is H. And look at H dash. H and H dash, if you compare, the H dash seems to be smaller. So it is a diminished image. And look at the what type of image is formed. It is an inverted image. Inverted, diminished, because it is also formed because of the intersection of these two refracted rays. We call it also real image. Isn't it, children? So what is the nature and behavior of the image formed using convex lens? In this case, here we got an inverted, diminished and real image. Hope, children, you all understood. So now, what is lens formula? Lens formula is the relation between U, V and F. Now once again, what is U, children? The distance from optic center to the object, that is U. I have represented U in the diagram. What is V? It is the distance from the image, from the optic center to image, that is represented by V in the diagram. Next, what is focal length? Again, it is the distance from optical center to focus. So OF is focal length. Okay, children. So remember these points. So lens formula gives us the relation between U, V and F. So what is U and V and F is given here: object distance, image distance and focal length. So you have to remember this point. Lens formula is, you may repeat after me, 1 by V minus 1 by U equal to 1 by F. Is it similar to the mirror equation you have learned in the reflection, children? Yes, but there is a difference in the sign with U, isn't it? So how did we get that? Look at the diagram. U, we know according to the sign convention rules, first rule tells us we have to do the measurement from O. We have to measure the distance only from O because it is optical center. And how do I measure object distance, children? Is it along the principal, along the incident ray or opposite to the direction of incident ray? Look at the incident ray, it is AC, it is from A to C, but the direction of the measurement that we are taking up is from O to B. That means it is opposite to the direction of the incident ray. Therefore, U has to be taken as negative. Look at V and F on the other side of the lens. Again, according to the first rule, we have to measure it from O. When we are measuring V, are we moving from O to A? Yes. Is it in the direction of the incident ray? Of course, because AC is the direction of the incident ray. Therefore, we are also, while measuring, we are moving in the direction of incident ray for both F and V. Therefore, for F and V, there is no negative sign. Only for U, we have taken the negative sign. So what is lens formula, children? It is the relation between object distance, image distance and focal length. Okay. Next, I will call your attention to next formula, lens maker's formula. Children, as you are already aware about power of lens, so whenever you have an eye defect, we go to ophthalmologist for eye checkup, isn't it? So when he checks the power of your eye, if there is any defect, he will prescribe a lens for you. So after prescribing, what will he do? He will give it to the lens maker to make it. That's what he will tell you to come and collect after 2 days. Isn't it, children? So meanwhile, what does this lens maker do? He will prepare the lens ready for you within these 2 days. So to make the lens, he need to follow also certain rules or a formula, because lens is something to do with curvature, isn't it? And something to do with refractive index of the material. So usually the material they used is the glass material, isn't it? So what is lens formula? Lens maker's formula, it gives the relation of focal length with refractive index n and the radii of curvature of the lens, because biconvex lens or biconcave lens is used to correct myopia or hypermetropia. You should know both R1 and R2. Okay, children, look at the diagram here. Suppose this is the curvature he has to take, or this is the lens he is going to prepare. He should know the refractive index, that is N2, and N1 is the refractive index of the material in which it is used. Okay, children. So what is the usual material? The medium, that is N1 is the air, the refractive index of the air. We all know what is the value of the refractive index of air, children? It is approximately 1. Therefore, we don't consider N1. Here, N means N2. N2 is the refractive index of the glass. Okay, children. So what is the relation here? 1 by F is equal to N minus 1 into 1 by R1 minus 1 by R2. Did you understand, children, what is R1 and R2? R1 is the radius of curvature of one curved surface, that is, you may call it as 1, and R2 is the radius of curvature of second curved surface. We know that curved surface is always a part of the sphere, isn't it? That's why it will have its own radius of curvature. Therefore, the formula, lens maker's formula, gives us the relation between focal length, refractive index, and radii of curvature of the two spheres used in lenses. Hope, children, you all got the point here. What is lens maker's formula? That is 1 by F equal to N minus 1 into 1 by R1 minus 1 by R2. Okay, children. So these two laws are very important. These two formulae are very important for your numericals. Okay, children. Now I will call your attention to a quick recap of refraction that we have already learned. Isn't it, children? It seems to be, refraction is a very interesting topic, isn't it? What is refraction? As soon as I ask, what should you give me the answer? It is the bending of light when light is traveling from one medium to the other medium. You can observe here, children, isn't it? Light ray is getting bent. If there is no bend, it should follow a straight line path, isn't it? But it will bend. So what is the reason for that bending? That is also we have discussed, because there is change in the direction of light, isn't it? So the direction of light is being changed. Why did it change again, children? Because the speed of light is different in different media. That means the light has a different speed in air compared to the speed in the water or glass, any medium you take as a second medium. So why this bending takes place? Because there is a change in the direction of light. Why there is change in the direction of light? It is because of the speed of light is different in different media. And why the speed of light is different, children? It depends on the index of refraction or the refractive index of that material. Because of that, the speed of light is different. Why again the refractive index is different? Because refractive index is directly proportional to the optical density of the material. So while explaining refractive index, I have given you the comparative study of density and refractive index. As we move from gaseous substances, gaseous materials to the solid material, the refractive index has increased, and proportionally the density of the material is increasing. Here, children carefully understand the density means it is not simply mass by volume. It is the optical density of the material which will depend on the wavelength of the light chosen. Okay, children. So this density is very important factor in the forthcoming discussion which I am going to do. Okay, children. Look at the next slide. Look at it carefully where I will discuss important situations of refraction. Okay, children. Important situations means here, look at the diagram. Here I have chosen two different media. To distinguish that, I have a blue colored layer above and below a transparent layer. And between these two media, there is a boundary that is given by a horizontal line here. Okay, children, how many media is present here? Two media. One is denser medium, another one is less dense medium. That means comparatively, the density of the material which is taken below is less dense. Okay, children, this density is because denser medium means it should be having more density compared to the rarer, or you can call it as a less dense medium is also called as rarer medium. You can call it, whenever I use rarer medium, you have to refer it to the less dense medium. Okay, children. So here, if this is the first medium I have, where I have chosen denser medium, and this is the second medium. Usually, if I give you an example, denser medium can be glass and rarer medium can be air or water. It can be anything. Suppose denser medium is water, the rarer medium will be air. Okay, children. So this is what you should remember whenever I say denser medium. Denser medium, again, what is denser medium? It is where the molecules are closer to each other. But in the less dense medium, the distance between them may be more. Okay, children. So here I will discuss what happens when a ray of light moving from denser medium to rarer medium. Okay, children, listen carefully and look at the diagram. If you observe this blue ray, which I have chosen as an incident ray, it is passing from the denser medium to the second medium called less dense medium or rarer medium. If you look at the ray, it is getting refracted. And if you observe the angle of incidence and angle of refraction, is there any relation, children? Are they equal? No. Which angle is greater now? R seems to be greater, isn't it? That means why R is greater? If you observe, the refracted ray is not moving towards the normal, it is moving away from the normal. That means whenever light ray moves from denser medium to less dense medium, the refracted ray in the second medium, that is in the less dense medium, the refracted ray moves away from the normal. Why, children? Again, here you should understand the speed of light in denser medium and less dense medium. Let us consider the speed of light in denser medium as V1 and speed of light in less dense medium to be V2. Okay, children. So, because it is first medium, I have taken it as one suffix. Then, because less dense medium is the second medium, I have taken it as V2. Remember like that. Okay, children. So, V1 is the velocity of denser medium, velocity of light in the denser medium. V2 is the velocity of light in the less dense medium. Okay, children. So, because here I have given a relation, V1 is less than V2. How V1 is less than V2? Let us see. In denser medium, the speed of light will be always less. And in the less dense medium, the speed of light will be comparatively greater than the speed of light in denser medium. Okay, children. What did I tell now? The speed of light in the denser medium is less compared to the speed of light in the less dense medium. Why the speed of light is less in denser medium? Children, here I'll give you an example or a trick to remember how the speed of light is less in denser medium. Suppose you are on a traffic road where more vehicles are on the road. What will be the speed of your vehicle? Will it be faster? Will you be faster? No, your speed will be less when you are on the traffic road, isn't it? Suppose you don't have any traffic. That means very few vehicles are moving on the road. What will be the speed of your vehicle? Automatically, the speed of your vehicle will increase, isn't it, children? So, if you compare more traffic road with denser medium means where molecules are closely associated with each other. The distance between them is smaller. So denser medium can be compared with a traffic road. Therefore, the speed of light is less in denser medium because there is a traffic of molecules there. Therefore, the speed of light in the denser medium is less, and the speed of light in less dense medium, because molecules are lit away from each other, the speed of light is greater. Therefore, if you look at the refracted ray, it is moving away from the normal. Remember this trick, children, so that this concept will be very clear. Whenever a light ray is chosen from denser medium to rarer medium, you have to remember the speed of light decreases and the speed of light increases in the less dense medium. Therefore, the refracted ray is moving away from the normal. Therefore, R should be greater than I. Did you get the point, children? What is that? Whenever light ray travels from denser medium to rarer medium, the velocity of wave increases in the second medium. Therefore, the refracted ray moves away from the normal. Here, what about the refractive index, children? Denser medium has greater refractive index and less dense medium has less refractive index because it is proportional to the density of the material. Hope you got the point, children. If you have any doubt also, you can drop in the message box. I will clear your doubts. Okay, children. Next important situation of refraction is the converse of the first one. That is, whenever light travels from rarer medium to denser medium. If you observe here, the shaded part is below here and the transparent part is above. That means this transparent part can be considered as a rarer medium and this shaded part is can be considered as a denser medium. That means denser medium can be, I said, if it is water, the rarer medium should be air because its optical density is less. So now I consider, suppose a ray is traveling from air to water, let us say. Okay, children. So if you observe, this is the incident ray striking the surface at the boundary, isn't it? So after striking, if you look at the ray, the refracted ray, is it moving away from the normal? No. Seems to be moving towards the normal. Actual path of the ray, children, it should be straight like this. But it is moving towards the normal. So whenever a light ray travels from rarer medium to denser medium, what about the speed of light again, children? Already you know the trick. In the rarer medium, the speed of light will be less depending on the traffic. In the rarer medium, the traffic is less. Therefore, the speed of light will be more. On a trafficless road, your speed will be more, isn't it? That's what V1 is greater. Then when you come to the denser medium, that is where the density is more and molecules are closer to each other, which you can compare to the traffic road where more vehicles are present, you can say the velocity or the speed of light is greater in the denser medium. Sorry, lesser in the denser medium. That is why whenever a light ray travels from less dense medium to more dense medium, children remember carefully, whenever a light ray travels from less dense medium to more dense medium, always the speed of light in the rarer medium is greater than V2. Therefore, the refracted ray moves towards the normal. And look at the relation between angle of incidence I and angle of refraction R. Because the refracted ray is moving towards the normal, R will be less compared to the angle of incidence. So children, what is the rule here? What is the situation we are observing here? Focus and learn this. When a light wave travels from rarer medium to denser medium, velocity of light decreases in the denser medium. Therefore, the refracted ray moves towards the normal. Why? Because the refractive index of the denser medium is less and the refractive index of the rarer medium is greater. Hope you got the point, children. Did you all understand? So to make it more clear, I have taken both of them, both the diagrams in a simple manner in the same slide. Look at the first diagram, children. The ray of light is traveling from, that's what you should remember always, to look at the arrow marks. Then only you will know from which type of substance the ray is traveling. Okay, so look at the arrow mark. The light ray is traveling from denser medium to rarer medium, where the refractive index of denser medium is greater, refractive index of rarer medium is less. Therefore, what happens to the speed of light in the denser medium? It is less. When it comes to the second medium, we have to focus on the second medium because we observe the refraction in the second medium. So when you come to the second medium, what is our second medium here in the first case? Rarer medium. Therefore, in the rarer medium, the refracted ray is moving away from the normal. So you remember the point, whenever light ray travels from denser to rarer, the refracted ray moves away from the normal where R is greater than I. Moves away means angle of refraction increases. That is why R greater than I. Look at the second case, the right side picture, where the light ray is traveling now from, the first medium here is rarer medium, and it is traveling from rarer medium to denser medium. So what is denser medium? Look at the behavior of the light in the denser medium, children. It is the refracted ray is moving towards the normal. Whenever light ray travels from rarer to denser, the refracted ray moves towards the normal. Why? The speed of light is denser medium. How it will be? In the denser medium, the speed of light is less. Therefore, from rarer to denser, when light travels, it moves towards the normal, and angle of refraction will be smaller compared to the angle of incidence. Okay, children. Now, these are applicable also spherical surfaces. When you consider spherical surfaces also, whenever you move from denser to rarer, the refracted ray moves away from the normal. Whenever you move from rarer to denser, the refracted ray moves towards the normal. Remember these points, and in this slide, I give you a comparative study of these two. These 2 points are comparatively studied. Listen carefully. In rarer medium, what happens? The speed of light is, why do you consider rarer medium? Because whenever light here in the rarer medium means light is traveling from denser to rarer. So the second medium we are concerned with, because in the second medium only the refraction takes place. Okay, children. So in rarer medium, the speed of light is more. Therefore, the optical density refractive index is less. Because of that, the refracted ray moves away from the normal. If we look at the denser medium, the speed of light is less because of the traffic again. Remember that point. Then the optical density and refractive index is less, and refracted ray moves towards the normal. So remember only 2 points, children. Forget about the speed of light, refractive index, all these concepts. Just remember, in rarer medium, refracted ray moves away from the normal. In denser medium, refracted ray moves towards the normal. Again, take the screenshot of it to remember it and keep it carefully. Okay, children. So next important topic is total internal reflection. So children, you have to remember the points we have already discussed. Keeping those points in the mind, we can understand what is exactly total internal reflection. Okay, children. So in the further discussion, we may not completely discuss about total internal reflection, but a part of it will be discussed here. So be very, very attentive, because this is the most important topic of this chapter. Okay, children. So look at this diagram. Is it colorful? Do you feel happy looking at it? Some of you might be having it at home, isn't it? So this kind of light looks very colorful, isn't it? So where do you get it? Usually when we go for exhibitions or village fairs or somewhere on the near the roads, some people will be selling these kind of lights, isn't it? Have you bought them? Maybe some of you having. So why did I take this picture here? To understand. So the total internal reflection which we are going to discuss is something to do with this. That is what I have given the picture. Is it colorful, children? Yes. So our discussion is going to be very colorful. So focus and keep your concentrate on the topic. First of all, look at the situation I have drawn here. Here, the case where no refraction takes place. Okay, children, look at the ray diagram I have drawn. This is the boundary between two media, that is glass and air. Okay, glass is again the denser medium, air is rarer medium. Suppose a ray of light is traveling from rarer medium to denser medium in the first case. Look at the ray which is passing through the normal. If you observe, for this boundary, this is the normal, isn't it, children? So, to this normal, if you choose a ray through the normal, after refraction, is there any refraction in the refracted ray? That means, is there any bend in the refracted ray? There is no bend. Why? Because whenever you choose a ray along the normal, the ray will not get refracted. That means no refraction occurs whenever you choose a ray through the normal. Either it is from rarer medium to denser medium or denser to rarer. Anything can be. There will not be any refraction. Okay, children. So remember, always whenever the incident ray is taken along the normal, the ray will not be refracted. That means there is no refraction. Either it is from denser medium to rarer medium or rarer medium to denser medium. There will not be any refraction. Remember this point, children, and look at the further topic, that is where when you consider the refraction from denser medium to rarer medium. So what happens when you consider the refraction? So listen carefully. I am considering the refraction now only in one situation, where whenever light travels from denser medium to rarer medium. Children, listen carefully. Denser medium, where the shaded part is denser medium and the transparent part is rarer medium. Here, I am considering as the angle of incidence increases, how the angle of refraction changes. That is what we are going to see in this slide. Listen carefully. Okay, children. So first of all, I am choosing a ray with some angle of incidence, isn't it? So this is angle of incidence. I take it as a I1. I1 is the angle of incidence, and this is the boundary, and you observe these are the normals I have drawn. Okay, children. So first of all, with some angle of incidence, I have taken an incident ray. Because the refracted ray is in the rarer medium, we know that in the rarer medium, the speed of light is greater. Therefore, refraction is more, and angle of refraction will be always greater than the angle of incidence. You can see the ray is moving away from the normal. Did you observe, children? What is the point I have discussed now? Whenever light travels from denser to rarer, for a particular angle of incidence, the refracted ray is moving away from the normal with an angle of R1. Okay, now come to the second case, children. In the second case, if you observe, the angle of incidence I have taken more than the angle of incidence of the first case. That means now I have increased the angle of incidence. Look at the refracted ray, children. So I2 is the angle of incidence. Look at the refracted ray. It is moving further away from the normal. If you observe R1 and R2, which angle is greater? R2 is greater, isn't it? Because angle of incidence has increased, refracted ray also further moving away from the normal. Refracted ray is also moving away from the normal. Okay, children. Next, look at the third case where I take I3 little more greater than the I2. That means I am increasing the angle of incidence further. What happened? The refracted ray also is moving away and away from the normal, isn't it? Now look at the angle of refraction. It is greater compared to the R1 and R2. So children, to sum up, what did you understand here? As the angle of incidence is gradually increased from I1 to I2, I2 to I3, angle of refraction or the refracted ray is moving away and away from the normal, and the angle of refraction is greater as you increase the angle of incidence. So the angle of refraction is also increasing for the corresponding increase in the angle of incidence. But on the whole, I is less than R, isn't it? In every case, I is less than R because the refracted ray is in the rarer medium. Hope children you all got the point. Here, what are the points I have discussed? The light ray is traveling from denser medium to rarer medium. So, whenever the angle of incidence increases, the refracted ray is moving away and away from the normal. Okay, children, keep this point in the mind and we will come to the understanding of an important topic called critical angle. Look at this diagram again, children. So, looking at this clumsy diagram, don't get frightened. Now, in the previous slides, what I have discussed, again, I am once again summing up in this diagram. Okay, children, look at the first case, the leftmost ray, which I am clicking. Look at the diagram, all of you children. So, what type of ray I have chosen here? First of all, before all of that, you have to remember the light ray is traveling from denser medium to rarer medium. That is from more dense medium to less dense medium. Okay, so whenever light ray is traveling from denser medium to rarer medium, this is the case you have to remember. Okay, children. So now in the first ray I have chosen is through the normal, isn't it? When ray is taken perpendicular to the boundary, we have already discussed in the previous slide, there will not be any refraction. That is what's seen in the case here. The leftmost part where you can observe there is no refraction. Now, in the second case here in this diagram, I have increased the angle of incidence. What happened, children? I have taken certain angle of incidence. Now look at the angle of refraction in the rarer medium. The refracted ray is moving away from the normal. Therefore, R will be greater than I. Next, look at the third case, where angle of incidence is further increased. We have discussed this case also. What happened to the refraction? Refracted ray is further moving away from the normal and angle of refraction is greater than the angle of incidence. That means it will be greater than the first angle of refraction. Similarly, come to the next point. Okay, children, the next case where you are increasing the angle of incidence step by step. As you increase the angle of incidence step by step, what happened in the previous slides we have observed, angle of refraction is also increasing, isn't it? So it is moving, the refracted ray is moving further and further away from the normal, isn't it? So as you increase the angle of incidence, you will reach a situation to the angle of incidence where the angle of incidence is equal to theta. At that angle, if you observe, is there any refracted ray here, children? There is no refracted ray in the second medium, that is in the rarer medium. Now what happened to the refracted ray then? So at this angle of incidence called theta, the refracted ray is no more in the rarer medium, that is in the second medium. The refracted ray is grazing over the boundary of the surface. If you look at the diagram, if you observe, the refracted ray is passing through the boundary of the two media. Did you understand, children? So here what happened? As you go on, increase the angle of incidence step by step. At a particular angle of incidence, the refracted ray is no more refracting in the second medium. It is just passing through the boundary. So this particular angle of incidence, whenever the angle of refraction equal to 90 degrees, the corresponding angle theta or angle of incidence is called as critical angle. Okay, children, did you understand? So let me explain with you with one more diagram here. All these cases are taken in one diagram only. Okay, children. So look at the green colored ray. Here also the refraction is from denser medium to rarer medium. So you have chosen first incident angle to be theta 1. Okay, children. So this green colored ray is the first incident ray. Because it is moving from denser medium to rarer medium, the refracted ray is moving away from the normal. So as you further increase, go on increase step by step, and as you gradually increase at a particular angle called theta c, look at the red line, red colored ray here. So this is the angle of incidence theta c. At this angle, what happened to the refracted ray? The refracted ray is passing through the boundary, grazing over the surface of the boundary. So if you observe, what is the angle of refraction here? Children, it is 90 degrees. So whenever at the critical angle, the angle of refraction will be always 90 degrees. Hope children, did you understand? You all understood? Did you understand? So as you go on increase the angle of incidence, at a particular angle of incidence, the angle of refraction becomes 90 degrees. That corresponding angle of incidence is called as the critical angle. Hope you all understood, children. So let me give you the definition of this critical angle. So what is the first condition you should remember? The light ray should travel from denser medium to rarer medium. Okay, so when it is traveling from denser to rarer, the light ray, here I have chosen denser to rarer as water to air. So at a particular angle of incidence, the angle of refraction is becoming 90 degrees. That corresponding angle of incidence is called as critical angle. So critical angle is that angle of incidence for which the angle of refraction is 90 degrees. Okay, children. So, and the condition is the light ray should travel from denser to rarer medium. So what is the condition to be satisfied at the critical angle? R, that is the angle of refraction should be 90 degrees and the angle of incidence is nothing but the critical angle. That means what is the point you have to remember? At the critical angle, the angle of refraction will be 90 degrees. Now, let me draw your attention to the relation between the critical angle and refractive index. Okay, children. So why are we concerned with refractive index here? Because it is something to do with the lens, isn't it? So something to do with the rarer medium. So let us consider two media where the refractive index of the first medium is mu A and refractive index of the the refractive index of the rarer medium as mu A and refractive index of the denser medium as mu B. You may be looking at this notation mu as a different one. Usually I am representing with n. So there is also another representation with mu. The refractive index can also be represented with mu. That's what, to make you understand that point, I have taken here mu A, mu B. So here what is the refractive index of the rarer medium? Rarer medium is the second medium, children. Remember carefully. Listen carefully. So refractive index of the rarer medium is taken as mu A. Refractive index of the denser medium is taken as mu B. So to give the relation between this critical angle and refractive index, let us apply the Snell's law. What is Snell's law? Sin I by sin R is equal to constant. That constant is nothing but the ratio of the refractive indices of these two materials. So what are the two materials we have chosen? Water and air. Okay, children. So at critical angle, when you choose that critical angle of incidence to be critical angle, what should be R? We have already discussed. The angle of refraction should be 90 degrees. So let us now substitute these values in this Snell's law. Okay, I should be considered as C and R should be taken as 90 degrees. That is what I have substituted in the next step, and we got mu B sin C equal to mu A sin 90. And we know what is sin 90? It is equal to 1. We have a numerical value for sin 90 degrees. What is that? It is 1. So substituting that value, we get mu B by mu A equal to 1 by sin C. Okay, children. So that can be summarized and can be written as mu AB equal to 1 by sin C. That means mu AB is what? It is the refractive index of the second medium with respect to the first medium. Excuse me. What is the second medium here, children? The second medium is rarer medium. That is the medium where the refraction is taking place. So the refractive index of the second medium with respect to the first medium is given by 1 by sin C. So this expression gives us the relation between the refractive index and the critical angle of the material. Okay, children. So as we have the concept called total internal reflection, to understand what is exactly total internal reflection, you need to have the clear understanding of critical angle. Therefore, I have discussed it like this. Hope you all understood this. So depending on this critical angle expression, I'll give you a numerical problem here. Okay, children, look at the question given to you. Okay, remember, given that the refractive index of air, given that the refractive index of air and glass are water are 1 and 1.33 respectively. Find the critical angle. Children, refractive indices are given and the information about the light ray is whether traveling from denser medium to rarer medium or rarer to denser medium is not given. Here you have to take the decision. Which is the denser medium and which is the rarer medium? Tell me, children. The one with greater refractive index is the denser medium. The one with lesser refractive index is the rarer medium. Otherwise also they have given us air and water. If they give only refractive indices, we will know from the refractive index itself which is the denser medium and which is the rarer medium. And critical angle can be applied only whenever light travels from denser to rarer medium, isn't it? That is why if you observe, children, the light is traveling now from water to air. Okay, so let us find the critical angle. We know already to find the critical angle, how we will approach, children? Yes, using the Snell's law, we can determine the critical angle. Okay, so what is the refractive index of air? 1, and that can be taken as N1, and refractive index of water 1.33, that can be taken as N2. Okay, children. So let us solve the problem now. How did we solve? How will we solve? Using the Snell's law, that is sin I by sin R is equal to N2 by N1. There we have used mu, children. Don't get confused. We can have different notations for refractive index. So here you take it as N2 by N1. N2 is refractive index of the rarer medium. N1 is the refractive index of the rarer medium. Okay, children. So listen carefully. Sin I by sin R is equal to N2 by N1. This is the Snell's law. Now cross multiply and you get n1 sin I is equal to n2 sin R. So we know at the critical angle I is equal to C. What is angle of refraction? That is what we have discussed so far. At the critical angle, the angle of refraction will be always 90 degrees. So at critical angle I is equal to C, therefore R is equal to 90 degrees. Substituting these values, we get n1 sin C. Instead of I am considering C. Instead of R taking 90 degrees. n1 sin C equal to n2 sin 90 degrees. And we know n1 is nothing but 1, isn't it? n2 is nothing but 1.33. Listen carefully. Sin C is equal to, now because sin 90 equal to 1, we can write n2 by n1 is equal to sin C. Okay, children. Now, C can be written as sine inverse of 1 by 1.33 because N2 is 1, N1 is 1.33. Okay, so what is the value we get? The last value we get, the final answer is 48.8 degrees. So, this is the way you can solve the problems related to critical angle, because how do you use the, what kind of formula or law you use here? You use Snell's law to discuss the problems related to critical angle. Hope children you all have understood. So this is what the discussion for today, and these points about the critical angle should be remembered very carefully, which will be the concept called total internal reflection will be taken up in the next session. So you have to remember these points regarding critical angle in your mind. So listen carefully. So keep it in mind and be ready for the next session. And most of you might have watched the first session too. If you have not watched, watch the first session and follow the second session and be ready for the third session. So now I'll give you the quick recap of what we have gone through so far. That is, first of all, we have understood formulae related to lens, then rules for drawing a ray. Next we have, rules for drawing ray diagrams. We have also situations of refraction. Then we discussed about, lastly, about the critical angle in detail. Hope children, you all have understood. So here I have a small to check your understanding on some questions. So first question, you can discuss some numerical problems are given here. First one is a converging lens of refractive index 1.5 is kept in a liquid medium having same refractive index. That means the medium, liquid medium is also having the refractive index of value 1.5. What could be the focal length of the lens in this medium? So which formula you will use, children? Yes, either you can use lens formula or lens maker's formula to find out. Okay, next second question is determine the critical angle of the following materials when surrounded by air. Okay, children, so you have to find out the same process which I have followed in the previous problem can be followed. Here I have given different materials. The first one is Teflon with refractive index N equal to 1.38, Pyrex with refractive index 1.47, polycarbonate glass with N equal to 1.59, sapphire gemstone with N equal to 1.77, diamond with refractive index 2.42. So you can solve these problems. If you have any doubt, you can contact me or you can drop a message in the message box. Okay, children, next question is, I have drawn the ray diagrams for convex lens. So you can draw now or try to draw the ray diagrams for concave lens using the same set of rules. But remember, when you draw ray diagrams for concave lens, they don't converge. They seem to be diverging away from that point. So remember that rule to follow to draw the ray diagrams. Next one is also remember explain. So explain terms in formula related to lens. So these are the questions for you for your assessment, or you can call it as some questions for discussion. So hope children you all understood what we have discussed today, and that's all for today. If you have any doubts, you can raise. This is the courtesy I have used.
Sir, please unmute, sir.
Thank you, Joshi Garu. You have given a very good lecture. The presentation style was very good. The slides that you have put over here, are, that shows the degree of commitment that you have towards the model school students. Hats off to you. Hope you have a very nice day. So thank you, children. Thank you for participating. I also thank all the principals and teachers who are associated with the program. Have a great day.
Thank you, sir.